Hello everyone, today we are looking at something I like to call the visibility problem. Now, you may recognize this map, you've probably played it and beaten it
Never going
and
apple
thought one
picking
thing
again.
or another about it. Now, if we take a look at these pieces of grass, you can actually see that with the SDR sight, you can see through them. Now, this is basically how your enemy AI will see you. Now, let me show you an example of this. Because maybe you're like, hey, squabblers, what does that matter? That's just a bit of grass. Like, is that really going to be an issue? Like, you don't have fights out here, right? All this kind of stuff. You'll notice that this kind of grass right here, you can see it right through it. This little bush or whatever you want to call it. So let's take a look at where this might come in handy. Now, bear with me here. Of course, we have these here. And once again, we can't really see through these. But there's this tree. And it is a physical tree. Yet we can see through it, which is very hilarious. And not to mention, there are other circumstances where you can actually see through other things as well. So all those vines that you see clouding up an area, it is also gone, except minus these ones right in front of me for some reason, but let's ignore that. The consistency is astonishing. But anyway, you can see that there are no actual vines past the thing just in front of my face, and we can go around the other side and kind of see this. Now, what am I talking about visibility problem? Because I'm not really expanding too much on it, and I'm just kind of showing you a weird kind of thing that's happening when you are looking through this site. And I'm not sure if it's the site, just the site or other sites, but regardless, my point is going to be illustrated shortly. So we can see through this. Now, whenever you come across any enemy AI, a lot of the time, whenever you enter through, that's probably what they're seeing. They are seeing you clearly through all of the vegetation, all of the obstructions you see in front of you. Obviously, there's certain things that don't actually work. So like something like this, for some reason, these assets don't seem to obscure your vision. But as you can see here, like I have like X-ray vision when I'm using this site, and AI essentially have the same thing. Why is that? It's very odd. Let's look at through these things. More obstructions. Oh, looks like all of this stuff is also going to disappear, right? It helps you see better through vegetation and through things that are solid like trees and other, solid assets. So when you're looking at all of these things and you're thinking, hey, how is this fair? Now, if you look at it from the perspective of how AI actually see you, well, that's a little weird. They are basically seeing that while you are, seeing the actual thing that's obstructing you. And this isn't just the case with vegetation. It's also the case with a lot of other things like windows. Now, there aren't really glass windows on this map per se, but let's just take a look at this, right? It's muddy, it's cloudy, you can see like reflections off of it. AI aren't going to have that issue. They're going to be able to see straight through this and usually shoot at you. A lot of the time, whenever you're coming around, for example, this corner, very commonly, if you haven't cleared this area and you're coming around this corner, they'll be able to see you and shoot at you. As you can see, you can actually see them. Very interesting. So this is the AI. They aren't necessarily seeing you through a tiny hole in the wall or a tiny, crack in the wall. They are seeing you through certain types of things that are obstructing your vision that doesn't obstruct theirs. That's why some of these areas feel very unfair. As you can see, it's a very common issue with a lot of this map, fundamentally, because it obviously removes a lot of your assets that, normally you wouldn't be able to see through, but because I'm using this, I can see perfectly fine. Also, there is something to consider with the sun. This is another issue with the visibility problem in Ready or Not. This makes sense. I don't really have an issue with this, but if somebody is on this side and they are firing at me from this side, aiming into the sun, you bet that they're going to have a harder time seeing me for obvious reasons, just like I would have a harder time seeing them. Why is this the issue? Now, a lot of games don't address this, to be fair. But as you can see, I can see the doors from this angle, which I normally shouldn't be able. This is kind of ridiculous when you actually look at how insane this could be, right? It's going to help you dramatically. And you'll also notice that there is a weird kind of effect with my actual sight. And there is an issue, I think, that's known where whenever you look through your sight, the brightness of whatever you have set, I think, is slightly brighter, like your regular gamma or whatever that you see out in the generalized world. So things like this, smoke, a lot of this is just more obstructions for us and less obstructions for them. Honestly, in terms of the hard mode difficulty where they see you through certain things or whatever, Like if they see your movement through this, I would understand this. This makes sense. There's tiny little holes. You can probably see movement through it, right? Like I can see movement through it if I'm kind of close enough looking through it. And AI will, generally speaking, see you. I would like, hopefully in the future, to kind of like minimize these issues. Obviously, the sun thing is probably too much, but it's a good place to start thinking about how these obstructions actually affect players in a very, very negative way, where it actually benefits the AI in such a positive way. It's a little unfair for obvious reasons. It's basically like having night vision while somebody doesn't have night vision. And of course, that's the next thing I'm going to be talking about. Now, there are a few dark maps like Twisted Nerve, which makes sense. Now, if we look at Twisted Nerve, and I'm doing this on casual just so I can walk through this map without issue, but when we look at Twisted Nerve, and if we look at it from the perspective of visibility, it's a super dark night, right? There's some moonlight and stuff, so it's not completely dark, but generally speaking, the whole area is very dark. You need a flashlight in certain areas. The places aren't very well lit. All this kind of stuff. Fundamentally, they should not be able to see us before we see them. We should be able to see them first, especially if we have night vision on and we're not using our flashlights, because obviously that makes sense. They should be able to see us if we're using your flashlight, which makes sense. It's already the case. You flash your flashlight around a corner, they'll, react to it. Makes sense. We already have something like that in the game. Cool. Obviously, in certain areas where it is super dark, and I have my gamma turned up so I can actually see very well in the dark. It may not come across too well in the video here, but generally speaking, like I have good visibility in the dark. I can see very, very well. So this is casual, so they're not going to be aiming perfectly. The reaction time will be slower because they are in casual, but they are very accurately shooting at me. And now you can save the muzzle flash and all that stuff. That makes sense. It's still the case that whenever you are fighting enemies and suspects that are in the dark, they can see you. And as I said, this isn't a good example because I don't have a suppressor on, so the muzzle flash would be greater, blah, blah, blah. But it's still the case that you are going through certain dark parts of a house and they can see you while you cannot see them. It's just another issue with this thing I call the visibility issue. Also, not to mention when it comes to certain things like windows, these windows aren't bad because they are backlit and they do provide a lot of visual clarity. So for example, if NPC was to see you and they were to see you move through, past one of those windows, it's pretty easy that they're going to see you because you're backlit. That makes sense. But let's take a look at this door. It is very dark. There's maybe a little bit of moonlighting, but generally speaking, there should be a lower reaction time for suspects who are in the dark. And same with No Good Deed. There's just so many things in the way on this map that makes it so hard to see, and they can see you very easily. Now, I understand that if you're stationary and you're sitting and you're looking at a location, you'll be able to see things better theoretically because you're not moving around looking and trying to scan everything. So if you are scanning something and you're just sitting there kind of like a sniper, that makes sense. They're going to have better vision of you. I don't have an issue with that. Now, what about Sins of the Father? This is another issue type of map. Now, I've already heard a lot of people that I've watched or, watch on YouTube and stuff like that play Sins of the Father, and a lot of their complaints are very similar. It's all based around the visibility of the window. And I'm going to kind of show you that really quickly. At the top of this area, there is a spawn where the windows are very poorly lit, and you really shouldn't be able to see outside too well. And they are lit in the hallways a little bit, but it's not super, super bright or anything. When you look through a lot of these windows, they are very hard to see out of. And it's not just because the rain's on it. That does help make things a little bit harder to see. It's still the case that whenever you are looking through a window, and I have the best settings to be able to see through these windows. And let's look at it now with a bunch of settings changed around. Now you can see that seeing through these windows is pretty tricky. It looks like it has like a very weird texture on the window. If you look at this, you can kind of see like the rain and all that stuff. It is making some obstruction, but realistically, it is very, very visually obstructing to us when you have those graphical settings turned up. Now, this makes sense for a bunch of reasons, but when it comes to gameplay, why do the AI not struggle with it as well? And once again, to show you kind of the comparison here, here's the before, and here is the after. Now, I can see way better with these settings turned down. It makes the game look a little less nice, but I can actually see actual door much better and much more clearly. Now, the AI commonly from this spawn point can actually see you through this window and shoot at you. And there isn't really much lighting. There is like some ambient lighting around you, which makes sense. And there are some like, you know, lighting here, but there's really nothing lighting up here. And you really shouldn't be able to see when you are coming down these stairs right off the bat. It's kind of sad to talk about visibility issues in a game like this, where it can really ruin the experience because it feels like you are being treated unfairly. Now, obviously, in dark areas and lit areas, I can use my flashlight and all these other things, and all these things make sense, right? But if you look at these windows here, this is a common issue and a common complaint whenever you are looking at this map. This section right here, I can see through it crystal clear. I have no issue. All of these things are very clear. And as I said, I can just kind of quickly show you the difference before and after changing these graphical settings. Now we can look at them and see the visibility issue that I am talking about. Now, it's not too bad from certain angles, but generally speaking, it is very difficult to kind of see and make out what's through these windows unless you're very carefully looking through it, because it is very obstructing. And I don't even have necessarily all the settings turned on, but from certain angles, this is quite awful. And this is a place where people die very often and they don't know where the shots are coming from. And it obviously makes sense that it's through these windows. Also, this is not to mention the other settings that I actually have turned up, like my gamma, so I'm able to see in darker areas because of the lighting issues. There's also like things like glare, which for a lot of other characters like these guys, they don't have to worry about these things. Also, having a light shine in your face, I think should also decrease some of your accuracy. Kind of how it would if someone was shining a light in your face. It makes it a little bit harder to see. Nothing too dramatic, but just like slight minor changes, right? And obviously these effects would be a lot less in well-lit areas, just for balancing issues and stuff like that. Why can't we have more things like that? So like coming into this room from this angle, this is just an awful spot because while I can see it looks like there's no glass on here, you can actually see that there is, but it's very hard to see when you have those other settings turned on. So you have to like play on super low settings to minimize and work on that visibility. Now, while the effects are pretty cool, should the effects extend to the opposing AI? I think they should, generally speaking, make it so it is fair on both ends of the spectrum here. So like the AI of my team and the AI of their team should not be able to see through these windows. And even if it does happen, so where I can see better than my AI through the windows, I think that's acceptable and reasonable. Now, there are other issues, which I'm going to be talking about in a second here. And now we're looking at this map. Now, you'll actually notice there are windows on this one too as well, but we're not talking about the windows in this map. We're actually talking about something else. Now, this actually benefits us more than it benefits any AI. This is actually more beneficial to us. Now, we can flip the switch on the fairness of visibility. Now, if you look very, very carefully, you can actually see some suspects in here. This is on hard mode to be very, very clear. But we can actually notice here, so that guy over there is shooting at us. Okay, he's locked on because he was locked on because X-ray vision for a moment. And now you can actually see we're not getting shot at because this is actually an obstruction. They can actually not see through this. We can. Obviously, it's a little bit trickier to see because there is obstructions, obviously. But they actually are unable to see us through these blinds. Now, just like this is unfair for them, this is also unfair for us. We should not be able to have this advantage of being able to see through various locations. If you actually look very closely here, oh, what is this? What's going on here? That guy has a gun in his hand, so I can actually take the shot here. And that target is down. Oh, there's another one. He has a shotgun, as we can clearly see. And of course, he's not responding to us. And pop. Now, if we were to peek out, they would 100% see us. This is essentially what AI has against us a lot of the time. We have visibility issues where we can't see through leaves, certain types of windows, all that kind of stuff. It's very unfair. And as you can kind of see, like as soon as I get out of that vision spot, I can actually look at them and take the shot. I'm looking straight at him. He has a weapon looking at me. You can actually see like he has his weapon pointed at me. If I come around this corner, watch, just to illustrate this, you can see me. Now you can't. So this is extremely unfair, and this is probably a glitch to be fair, but when it comes to this should just not be the case. They should be able to shoot through this if I'm shooting through here. They should be able to, generally speaking, notice that I'm shooting through here a location, and the glass should be broken, and then there's the blinds, and they can't see us because whatever. Now, maybe you can have an argument for it. They shouldn't be able to see you through these blinds. But once the glass breaks and there's kind of like movement between each blind, I believe they should be able to see you to some degree. I'm not talking about anything crazy, of course, but as I said before, this just shouldn't be in the game and this should be fixed. Now, in one way or another, I don't know how you would want to fix it or how they should do it. Realistically, I think decreasing their accuracy dramatically would be a good help whenever you are looking through certain types of debris that, like, you know, obstruct you, basically. I think that's perfectly reasonable. And obviously, like, this is kind of silly too, where I can like get the sightline too, but that's another topic for another day. But anyway, this is kind of what I've been talking about. I don't know why that guy was acting weird. This is on hard mode. That guy was acting very strangely. But anyway, yeah, like, this is something that's going to be talked about, at least discussed amongst the community. Tell me what you guys think about this. Like, this really shouldn't be happening. That's surprising. They're not hitting me, surprisingly. But yeah, so like, tell me what you guys think about this. Do you guys think this is like fair? Do you guys think this should be changed? What do you guys think? Do you think this should be like altered settings or something? What do you guys think? Do you feel like this is like a good part of the game? A lot of this feels very unfair to me, and not just unfair to me per se, like, but abusing systems like that. I don't like abusing systems like that. Obviously I'll do it, and a lot of people will do it, but to what end is the issue, right? I love how people run into the line of fire. But yeah, it's completely silly. It's not needed. Why is this the case? Like, it just needs to be worked on. It's just not, it's just a silly kind of issue with the game that needs to be fixed. It's hard to kind of notice these things unless you've played a lot of time in this game. Obviously I have, so it's hard to really notice these things and kind of make note of these things. But obviously you do kind of notice them when it feels like, oh, where did I get shot from? This feels unfair. What happened? I don't understand. Let me know what you guys think about this. Do you guys think this is like an issue? Do you think it's fine? Do you think it should be fixed? Do you think they should have like penalties? Do you think they should make it so they can't see them at all? What do you think about this? Because honestly, like, this has always been something that's been kind of annoying to me when I play this game. And obviously in certain situations where you are playing and you have the light in your eyes, that makes sense. That's fine. But they should be also punished for that. Maybe not strictly like the sun stuff, like in terms of like the glare in your face. But like the nighttime missions definitely should be more beneficial to us. And you know what I'd love to see also is just having enemies that have night vision, so that element gets removed. I would love to see that. Also, not only would it be cool if you're fighting enemies that had night vision and you used your flashlight and you were to shine it at the suspects who had night vision on, it would blind them. That would be super cool. They could do that to you. You could do that to them. There could be some weird interactions like that. I think that would be amazing. Obviously, it wouldn't necessarily like completely, you know, make them useless, but they would adjust and kind of play around that in some however way you could, you know, think of taking them off or something, you know, all that kind of stuff. But different enemies that have flashlights or whatever, right? All that kind of stuff. Let's do that. That sounds super fun. Why not do that? Anyway, let me know what you guys think. That's going to be the end of the video, and thank you for watching. And a lot of people will do it, but to what end is the issue, right? I love how people run into the line of fire.